Hi guys, it's been a long time since I made my last video. Today is the 8th of April, and we all know that the very first solar eclipse is going to happen in over the North American and Mexico side. In fact, this solar eclipse is special because it's going to be the first total solar eclipse. All right. To understand solar eclipse, we have to go back and understand what is Ketu Rahu. So it's a perfect time to talk about these two planets. Now, Ketu and Rahu, they are imaginary points. They are not actual planets. Okay, so let's go back to the mythology of these two planets. All right, the Devas, they understand that they need the help of Asuras to generate, to have the Amrit, which they also call the nectar of immortality. Okay, so they were churning the ocean to get the Amrit. And the Devas promised the Asuras that they can have a share of the Amrit, right? But of course, that didn't happen. So one of the Asuras, Svabhanu, okay, he transformed into a Deva, a lady, and he tried to deceive the Devas into giving him the Amrit, the nectar of immortality. And he actually had that sip of nectar of Amrit. Okay. Now the sun and the moon, because they are illuminaries, they were able to see through his disguise, and they informed Mohini, which is the female incarnation or female form of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu actually decapitated Svabhanu and left the head and the body. But because Svabhanu has already sipped the nectar of immortality, so he cannot die, right? So what happened? Left the head and body. So the head without the body is known as Rahu, and the body without the head is known as Ketu. And because of this, the Ketu and Rahu, they are always after sun and moon. Okay, and when they catch up with sun and moon, they swallow them. But of course, sun and moon, they also had the nectar of immortality, so they cannot die as well. And that's why you have the eclipses. Okay, the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse is caused by Rahu, and the lunar eclipse is caused by Ketu. Okay, so that's the mythology behind eclipses. Now, I have plotted the chart for this year's total solar eclipse, and you can see that from the chart, what's going to happen. All right, sun and moon and Rahu, they are in the nakshatra of Revati. And you can see that the sixth house, you have Mars and Saturn conjunct. Eighth house, you have Mercury and Jupiter. Okay, and Mercury is in retrograde and combust. Okay, so what it means now? Sun, Moon, and Rahu, they are Revati, right? Revati is actually owned by Mercury. And if you have watched my video on the outlook for 2024, uh, you know there will be more people going to believe what they believe is right. In other words, fundamentalism. Okay, and then I also mentioned about more fights and wars. Okay, I'm not going to mention a lot of things on social media, but if you are interested, you can just go back to the outlook of 2024 that I uploaded some time back. Okay, so April is going to be a tough month, to be very frank. After the solar eclipse. So guys, do be careful, especially whenever you travel. Always buy insurance. Okay, make sure you are safe. Right now, coming back to the personal level. Now, what is Rahu? What is Ketu? Let's start with Ketu first. Okay, Ketu represents detachment. Still remember the mythology where the Svabhanu is decapitated. So what's left of the body without the head is Ketu. Ketu represents detachment, dogs, flags. Essentially, the energy is about what you already have conquered or learned in your past lives, which you do not really care about this life. Okay, so for example, if Ketu is in your first house, you do not really care too much about yourself. Okay, you could be impulsive, for example. Okay, now what's Rahu? Rahu, on the other hand, is where our desires are, and it is actually, a lot of people, what they inspire or aspire to be in this life. Because for some astrologers, they use Rahu and Ketu to actually tell you a lot of stories in your current lifetime. Okay, because Rahu is always about our ambition, our ambitions. All right, what we want to achieve. We are always working towards that target. Whereas Ketu is what we do not really care. We have it, but we do not care. Okay, so let's go through the 12 houses. What does it mean you have Ketu in first house or Rahu in first house? Okay, so for people with Rahu in the first house, meaning if you have Rahu in the first house, your Ketu is in the seventh house. Now, Rahu, as I mentioned, is all about ambition, your desires, are right. So for this person, Rahu in the first house, you will find that you are very concerned about yourself only. Okay, everything is about yourself. You have a lot of ambitions. Okay, but the thing is, it's hard to achieve because Rahu gives you the desires, but it's not going to give you fulfillment of that desire that fast. And in some cases, it denies that fulfillment of desire. So depending on what sign you are. But no matter what sign, okay, Rahu in the first house, you are always about yourself. You have a lot of ambitions. What you don't care about is your marriage, your partnership. Okay, so in Vedic astrology, the first, seventh, and the fourth and 10th houses are what we call the Kendra houses. So whenever I see Rahu, Ketu in the Kendra houses, the person usually has a tough life. Okay, because these four houses are very important to us. It represents ourselves, our peace of mind, our marriage, partnership, and our career. So when you have Rahu, Ketu there, you'll find that your desires and what you do not care about are very important things in our life. Okay, so when you have Rahu in your second house, meaning your Ketu is in the eighth house, these people will tend to be very good finance managers because second house is a finance house. And Rahu being there, you can be very good with money. Okay, and then on the other hand, you actually do not really care so much about hidden information, occult sciences, metaphysics. But guess what? Whenever you reach problems, when you have problems with your life, right, you tend to go back to occult science. Okay, for example, you have this, you want to be the greatest banker, and then you're doing fine in life, and suddenly you have problems. Okay, what's going to happen? You're going to seek advice from an astrologer or a metaphysics practitioner. Okay, you want to ask reasons because why? Whenever we hit a rock, all right, during our life, we tend to go back to what we already know, and that's where your K2 is. Okay, so on the surface, you do not care about occult sciences, metaphysics, but deep inside, you know that you always rely on them. Okay, when Rahu is in the third house, it is one of the better positions for Rahu. Okay, you love to communicate and you communicate to the world. But however, relationship with siblings may not be that ideal. Okay, and when Rahu is in the third house, Ketu is in the ninth house. What is ninth house? Ninth house is about your father, higher learning, higher teaching, so more to higher learning and religion. Okay, so these people, um, well, like I mentioned, Rahu's position in the third house not bad. Ketu in the position in the ninth house position is also not bad. Okay, this gives a very spiritual person, religious person. Now, when Rahu is in the fourth house, which means Ketu is in the 10th house. First and foremost, this person comes across as someone who is probably weird, out of the box, not within that that person can actually be quite a creative one, because they do not really conform to a certain group. But then on the other hand, because of this non-conformity and think out of the box thing, right, they can be ostracized by their co-workers. And when Rahu is in the fourth house, what you desire is actually a peace of mind, love from family, or love from mother, but you can't get it. So again, it underscores what I mentioned about Rahu, Ketu in the Kendra houses. They cause this kind of energy. When Rahu is in your fifth house, it means that Ketu is in the 11th house. Rahu in the fifth house is also a not bad position. You are all into investments, speculation, creativity, and what you do not care about your friends, your social network. 11th house talks about money, right? So you can have lots of income, lots of money, but you do not care for them. What you want is on the fifth house. Okay, so for these people, you may not have, or you may have difficulties having children. So you can picture this already. You have lots of money, you want to have children, but you have difficulties having them, and you know where your money is going to be spent on. Okay, you don't care about what money you have. When Rahu is in the sixth house, it means your Ketu is in the 12th house. This again is one of the better positions for Rahu Ketu. Okay, so Rahu is able to help you overcome a lot of obstacles over time, especially. Ketu in the 12th house, you are very into spirituality, or rather, spiritual growth comes to you very easily. And for some astrologers, they claim that this is going to be the last life cycle. Okay, so overall, it's a good position for Rahu and Ketu in the 6th, 12th house axis. Now, when Rahu comes to the 7th house, which means Ketu is in the 1st house, so recall what I said. Rahu in the 7th house, you always want to be in a relationship. You cannot be without relationship. But when you are in a relationship, it's all about yourself. So again, some kind of tough life there, because we all know, in order for a relationship to work out, you need to be mindful about your partner as well, right? It's not all about yourself. And then when Ketu is in the 1st house, you tend to be impulsive. You make decisions without logical thinking, unless Jupiter is there sitting and expecting Ketu or Rahu. Okay. Rahu comes to the 8th house, which means Ketu is in the 2nd house. These are the people who love all the horror movies. They are into, they love to go into this paranormal research, but then they get scared. These are the people who love them, but they get scared. All right. And then Ketu in the 2nd house, these are the folks who are detached from family. In fact, usually I see that such people, they are not brought up by their parents. They could be brought up by someone else, like their grandparents, or someone who is not their parents. Okay, so in the earlier part of their life, there could be some kind of unhappiness, because Ketu detaches you from your family that you were born in. Now, Rahu is in the 9th house, which means Ketu is in the 3rd house. Now, Rahu in the 9th house gives you a lot of revolutionary ideas about religion. In some cases, let's say you were born a Buddhist, you can turn into a Muslim or Christians later on, or vice versa. Okay, even if you are not changing your religion, you have very revolutionary views on religion. Something that is also out of the norm from your circle of friends. All right. Ketu then is in the 3rd house. Ketu in the 3rd house is actually a relatively difficult position for Ketu. Okay. Now, first and foremost, communication. Okay, you could be very good in communication, or depending on the dignity of Mercury, you could be in a position where everyone misunderstands you. Okay, your messages cannot get across to people, and then because it detaches, right? So the words coming out from you sometimes do not make sense, right? And your relationship with siblings is harsh because Ketu is there, and in some cases you may have a twin sibling, okay, because Ketu cuts, all right. And since that house we're talking about younger siblings, so you may have a twin sibling, all right. I'm sorry, I'm saying you may have twins as siblings. Okay, so Rahu is in the 10th house, which means Ketu is in the 4th house. What you want is actually reputation. You know, you want to have a great reputation at work. Everybody recognizes you. But your Ketu is in the 4th, which means what? It detaches you from your family, from your peace of mind. So for these people, they usually they do not spend a lot of time with family. Okay? And they do not have that peace of mind. They do not have that peace of mind, or that peace of mind doesn't come to them easily. Okay, guess why? Because their mind is all about the 10th house of career, about reputation. Okay, so these guys, you need to be mindful, and then but then again, I understand the energy is there. Okay, so the Rahu 10th house people, you will gain, through your career, you will gain reputation, unless of course the dispositor or Saturn is really damaged. If not, it's going to give you a lot of fame as you grow older. Now Rahu is in the 11th house, meaning Ketu is in the 5th house. Okay, this again is one of the best position for Rahu, where you want your reputation to go out to the whole world. Okay, if you're a media influencer, social media influencer, or you have chances to speak to the public, it's going to give you very good results when you come across your Rahu Dasha, meaning luck cycle, or Rahu transits to your 11th house. Okay, but Ketu is in the 5th house. This means that you and your children are quite detached, not close. And in some cases, it denies children. Okay, and then creativity does not come easy for these people. All right, but then again, because Rahu is in the 11th house, a lot of gains and reputation at a global scale can be seen from here. Rahu goes to the 12th house, which means Ketu is in the 6th house. Now this energy is where you are into spiritualism, and in fact some sort of escapism. Okay, when you in your daily life especially, you want to escape from things, or you love to deal with foreigners. You can do well in companies that deal with foreigners, like exports, but what is it that you do not care? You do not care about the 6th house matters, meaning health, debts, obstacles. You don't give a damn. Okay, now this is going to cause you problems because we all have to pay our bills, right? So when Ketu is there, sometimes you just ignore your problems. What you actually seek is the 12th house. You want spirituality. You want to escape from the harshness of life, and you actually ignore your 6th house matters, which can cause some problems. Okay, so guys, this is my video, my description of Ketu Rahu and how does this apply to you. Okay, so keep a lookout for my next video. I'm going to talk more about specific planets. All right, thank you. Bye bye.